Yes guys, Tex here, and the World Cup group stages are officially over and the round of 16 fixtures have officially been announced. So I've got the fixtures up on my screen and I'm going to take you through my predictions. So the first game is France versus Argentina. France, they've been very poor so far this World Cup, but they've only conceded one goal, which was a penalty. So they're looking good defensively but not good attacking wise. But with Argentina, they just haven't looked very good in general. I say Argentina, it's basically France versus Messi at the end of the day. So I think it'll be 1-0 to France. Hang on. What does this mean? Team to receive the most corners. I've never actually seen this before, so it's going to be interesting. I'm going to do it. Yeah. France again. Is it just corners? No, it's just corners. So I got France to receive the most corners and to win the game 1-0. So the next game is Uruguay versus Portugal, Suarez versus Ronaldo. So it will be very interesting. Uruguay didn't look very good in their first two games, but when they went up against Russia, they gave them a good old beating. So I think they've just reached their form. So it'll be interesting to see how they do against Portugal. So as you can see, the most popular prediction is 2-1 to Portugal, which I can see why, because they've looked very, very good defensively, and Ronaldo was on fire against Spain and did also bang himself a goal against Morocco. The main question is, can he perform in the knockout stages? And in my opinion, I think he will. So therefore, I'm going for a 2-0 win to Portugal. I think Uruguay will have the lowest amount of yellow cards, because Portugal have players like Pepe. So the next game is Spain versus Russia, and Spain haven't looked the greatest so far this World Cup. They struggled against Portugal, but that's understandable. Portugal are a decent team, but then they went on to struggle against Iran and Morocco. So yeah, it will be a tough game for them because Russia have been very, very good. They have destroyed Saudi Arabia and Egypt in the first two games, and everyone thought they was on fire, but then they did not perform that well against Uruguay and did lose 2 or 3-0, can't quite remember. Russia do have some standout players like Golovin and Shevchenko. As you can see, the most popular prediction is 2-0 Spain, which I'm not going to agree with. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Russia win because they are the hosts, and I think the home crowd will bring them through. And this time, they have asked 2 different questions, so they're not actually asking for the time of the first goal spot on, because that's a little bit too difficult. But I do think it will be just before half time. I think Russia will break the deadlock 1-0, so I'll go 30th to the 45th minute. The next question is which team will cover the most distance, and I think this one is pretty obvious because Spain loves to pass the ball. I think Russia will be chasing a lot, so I'm going to go for Russia to cover the most distance. So moving on to Croatia versus Denmark, and we all know how well Croatia have done so far. They did smack Argentina about, beating them 3-0, and they do have Luka Modric, who is probably their standout player, and a lot of people are seeing Croatia as almost favourites based on how well they performed so far. So their opponent Denmark is up against it when they do come up against Croatia. Of course, Denmark do have Christian Eriksen, so it could be Modric versus Eriksen, but Croatia do have an all-round better team. I don't see Denmark giving Croatia that good of a game, so I'm going to go for a Croatia 2-0 win, so I'm going to stick with the most popular prediction. So this time the question is the first team to score, and I'm going to go for Croatia because they're the only team who I do think will score. Bosh. So moving on, the next game is Brazil versus Mexico, and before the tournament Brazil were looking like favourites just because the players they have Neymar, Coutinho, Jesus, Firmino, who should be starting for them because he is better than Jesus, but you know, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I would say that. Although they haven't looked the greatest so far, Brazil, of course they did struggle against Switzerland. They only just beat Costa Rica in like the 89th minute or something like that through Coutinho. And in their final group game, they did beat Serbia 2-0, which did look very convincing. Serbia didn't pose too much of a threat. but their opponents are Mexico, who did prove a big shock after beating Germany 1-0. Even though Germany weren't looking too good, Mexico did play very well. They're just missing that final third ball. So yeah, they did beat Germany and then had to face South Korea. And in Mexico's second group game, they did beat South Korea 2-1. They started off strong through a penalty through Carlos Vela and made it 2 in the second half due to Hernandez. But then Son did score an absolute banger in the 93rd minute to make it 2-1 with a consolation goal. And in the final game, they did have to rely on Korea beating or drawing to Germany to go through after they got absolutely walloped by Sweden. So they're not on the best of form, but they made it through, and that's the main part. The most popular prediction is 2-1, which I'm not gonna agree with. I'm gonna say 3-1 to Mexico, which could be a little bit of a shock, but I just think Brazil haven't looked the greatest so far. Moving on to Belgium versus Japan. Yeah, so I think Belgium versus Japan is probably one of the easier games to predict because Belgium have quality players such as Hazard, Lukaku, who is banging in the goals recently, and they do have a good defence. So yeah, I don't see much hope of Japan scoring. Before the World Cup, no one thought Japan would get through their group. They did have Poland, Colombia and Senegal in their group, who are much better teams on paper than Japan. But they managed to beat Colombia in the first group game, what was a bit of a shock. Of course, Colombia did get the early red card, but Japan still had to win the game and play quite well to beat Colombia. So the most popular prediction is 2-0 to Belgium, but I think it'll be 4-0 to Belgium because I don't see Japan posing too much of a threat. There's 2 questions, but I can only answer one, so team to cover the most distance, I'm gonna go for Japan because I think they'll be chasing the ball because Belgium will have most of the possession. Japan because I think they'll be chasing the ball. So the second last game of the round of 16 is Sweden versus Switzerland. Sweden have looked very good so far because of course they did take Germany all the way down to the 90th minute where Cruz did score an absolute banger of a free kick. But they did beat Mexico, who were looking good before they played, and Korea in the first group game. They do have Forsberg. Hasn't played that well in the World Cup so far, but he is their main man, so he will have to step up if they want to go any further. Moving on to Switzerland, they do have their key player in Shaqiri, who has looked decent so far. Of course, he did score that last-minute winner against Serbia to give them the advantage in the group. Of course, in their first group game, they had to play Brazil, where they managed to pick up a draw, which against Brazil, that was a very good result for them. So the most popular prediction is 2-1 to Sweden, but I'm going to disagree with that and go 2-1 to Switzerland. So the last group game is Colombia against my nation, England. So I'm hoping England win, but let's start off talking about Colombia. Their main man is James, who did get injured in the final group game, so he may be a doubt for this game. Then England will hope he doesn't turn up and play because he is the main danger man. They do also have Falcao, who back in his prime was one of the best strikers in the world. He's not so good anymore, but I'm sure he'll give Harry Maguire and John Stones some problems out the back. Now it's time to talk about England. We looked good in the first 30 minutes against Tunisia. We got an early goal through Harry Kane, but then yeah, Walker gave away a penalty. Tunisia made it 1-1, but then Harry Kane stepped up to the mark in the 90th minute. And then we went on to play Panama, which, yeah, it was a very easy game, so we couldn't take too much from that game, but we did look very good, especially from set pieces, so set pieces might be the way to beat Colombia. And then we went on to play Belgium in the final group game where we rested a lot of players, and we did lose the game, but I'd say about 50% of the England fans were happy to lose the game because it meant we went into an easier bracket. Most popular prediction is 2-1 to England, which I am actually gonna agree with. I think Harry Kane will lead from the front and carry us to the quarterfinals. So I have put my predictions of who's going to win into the quarterfinals in a bracket. So now I'm going to predict what I think the rest of the World Cup will finish like. So the first game of the quarterfinals is Portugal versus France. Of course, this would mean that Ronaldo's already made it further than Messi into the World Cup. I think France have a better all-round team. They got the likes of Kante, Griezmann, players like that. So for that reason, I think France will make it to the semi-final. So who do I think France will be facing in the semi-final? So we have Mexico versus Belgium. Belgium top their group. They even beat England. So yeah, they were on good form. And then they had Japan in the round of 16. Now moving on to Mexico. They have just beaten Brazil according to my predictions in the round of 16. So they'll be on a confidence high. But I think Hazard and Lukaku will carry Belgium through to face France in the semi-final. Now moving on to the next quarter-final to see who will get into the second semi-final is Russia versus Croatia. Of course, that's the host nation against Croatia, who have probably performed the best so far in the World Cup. So I think this is mainly a quarter-final of the host nation versus probably the best performing team so far in this World Cup, and I think Croatia will come out on top against Russia. Moving on to the last quarter-final, which is Switzerland against England. This is why could have been better for England to lose the last group game against Belgium, because it would mean facing an easier team, no offence to Switzerland, in the quarter-final. So I do think England have enough firepower throughout the team for players such as Kane and Lingard, because he is on form at the moment, to progress us to the semi-final to face Croatia. So moving on to the first semi-final, where it is France against Belgium. Personally, I do think this will be the best game of the World Cup. I think it's the two best sets of players coming against each other. For example, Belgium have Hazard, France have Griezmann. They both have a quality keeper in Courtois and Lloris. I do see potential in this week in extra time. I do think France have a better bench, therefore in extra time I think their bench will help them more. So I see France advancing to the final. So the second semi-final doesn't look quite right, as it's Croatia versus England, which hardly anyone would have predicted before. Yeah, this semi-final is on a knife edge for me, but because I'm from England, bit of bias, I'm going for England to reach the final to face France. So for the final, it's France versus England, and all I have to say is that it's coming home, boys!